If you've ever walked through a thick fog and felt like something was watching you, congratulations. You've survived nature's horror movie tutorial. But what if that eerie mist wasn't just in your head? What if something was really in there, and it wasn't friendly? When a violent storm rolls through a small town, nobody thinks much of the strange mist creeping in afterward, until the screaming starts. Now a group of terrified survivors is trapped inside a grocery store, and what's outside makes the aisles, full of expired canned beans, seem like paradise. With paranoia rising and faith turning into fear, the real question isn't just what's in the mist, it's who will survive long enough to find out. We're about to break down every terrifying consequence of paranoia, desperation, and the unknown in the mist. A brutal thunderstorm tears through Bridgeton, Maine, leaving behind a trail of wreckage. The next morning, David surveys the damage with his wife, Stephanie, and their 8-year-old son, Billy. Their boathouse took a hit, courtesy of their neighbor Brent's tree. As they assess the damage, an eerie mist rolls in over the lake, creeping in from the mountains. It's strange, but with bigger concerns at hand, they brush it off and move on. David heads over to Brent's place to discuss insurance details and learns that Brent's car didn't make it through the night either, crushed under another fallen tree. As a favor, David offers him a ride into town, with Billy tagging along in the back seat. On the way, they pass a convoy of military vehicles moving in the opposite direction, a sight that raises more questions than answers. After a storm like that, a grocery run is on everyone's mind. The local supermarket is packed, including David, Billy, and Brent, all stocking up on supplies. But then, sirens. Military trucks and police cars speed past the store, and just when it seems like things can't get stranger, an elderly man named Dan Miller stumbles inside, bloody and frantic. There's something in the mist, he says, and worse, it's already taken someone. The mist tightens its grip around the store, swallowing everything beyond the glass doors. Then the ground rumbles, an earthquake, sending people into a panic. Fear keeps most of them inside, but one woman isn't staying put. Her daughters are home alone, the eldest only 8 and not the most reliable babysitter. Desperate, she begs for someone to go with her, but when no one steps up, she walks into the mist alone. No one sees her again. As tensions rise, people huddle into groups, swapping stories to keep their minds off the growing nightmare outside. Meanwhile, David searches for blankets for Billy and is directed to the loading dock by the store's assistant manager, Ollie Weeks. Stepping into the back room, he finds a malfunctioning emergency generator spewing smoke. He shuts it off, but in the sudden silence, a sound emerges, something pressing against the garage door. Back inside, David warns a group of locals about the noise, but they scoff at the idea. Thinking he's just rattled, they argue about opening the door to fix the generator. One man takes offense, accusing David of acting superior. To prove a point, Norm, a bagger boy, steps up. Bravery or stupidity, it's hard to tell. He lifts the garage door and immediately, thick, writhing tentacles lash out, seizing him by the leg. David and Ollie grab hold, trying to pull him free, but the thing in the mist is stronger. Within seconds, Norm is gone, dragged into the unknown. The others barely manage to drive the creature off, hacking off one of its tentacles before slamming the door shut. But now there's no denying it. The mist isn't just a storm, and staying inside doesn't mean staying safe. The truth is hard to ignore when it's staring you in the face, or in this case, writhing on the floor. The severed tentacle is all the proof the customers need to realize David and Ollie weren't spinning a ghost story. With the store owner backing them up, they waste no time ordering everyone to barricade the windows. But while David fights to keep everyone safe, Mrs. Carmody sees this as her moment to shine. Preaching fire and brimstone, she warns that Judgment Day has arrived, courtesy of divine punishment. Her doomsday rant unsettles the children, and before she can scare them further, Amanda Dunphy shuts her up with a well-placed slap. Not everyone buys into the monster theory, though. Brent Norton, leading a group of skeptics, refuses to believe anything lurking in the mist. Convinced that staying inside is the real danger, he and his group decide to leave in search of help. David tries to stop him, but his warnings only push Brent further out the door. Meanwhile, a local biker steps up with a plan: retrieve a shotgun from Ambrose's truck outside. To track his progress, they tie a rope around his waist and watch as he disappears into the mist. For a few moments, the rope moves steadily, but then it jerks violently before going completely still. the silence is deafening. David grips the rope and begins pulling, the tension in the room tightening with every inch. Then the blood appears. When the last of the rope is reeled in, the message is clear. Only half the man made it back. The sight of his lower half sprawled across the floor is enough to make the entire store recoil, shielding the kids from the nightmare unfolding before them. With the nightmare now undeniable, the survivors shift into defense mode. As night falls, they string up lights around the store, hoping to keep the creatures at bay. But instead of scaring them off, the glow acts like a neon welcome sign for a swarm of enormous, nightmarish insects. The buzzing horrors slam against the glass, and after enough force, they break through, flooding the store. Panic erupts as people scramble for cover, but not everyone is fast enough. One of the wasp-like creatures stings Sally in the neck, dropping her instantly. In the chaos, 2 more people meet gruesome ends while another is burned alive in a botched attempt to fight back. Jessup, who had just confessed his feelings for Sally moments earlier, is left shattered. Mrs. Carmody, however, sees all of this as divine proof. One of the creatures lands on her, but for reasons unknown, it spares her. To her growing flock of believers, this isn't luck, it's a sign. Fueled by fear and faith, her influence in the store grows stronger. Meanwhile, Ollie proves to be a lifesaver, literally, when he guns down one of the insects before it can attack Billy. With daylight comes a new plan. David gathers a small team to head to the neighboring pharmacy for supplies and to check for any survivors. Amanda and others try to talk him out of it, warning that he could be leaving Billy fatherless. But David argues that the trip is safer than they think. After all, the biker made it a decent distance before things went south. Even Carmody chimes in, warning against leaving with another one of her religious rants. But before she can finish, a well-aimed can to the head cuts her sermon short. The can had come from none other than Irene Repler, a former teacher who had clearly run out of patience for Carmody's doomsday sermons. David and his group push through the mist and quickly reach the pharmacy. The eerie silence inside gives them false hope, but that hope vanishes when they stumble upon a grotesque sight, Brent's group, or what's left of them. Their bodies have been turned into incubators for a fresh wave of giant spiders, now crawling out in horrifying numbers. Before they can react, the spiders attack. Their webbing isn't just sticky, it burns through flesh. 2 men fall victim as the creatures make quick work of their prey. As the group retreats, Dan finds himself face to face with a spider blocking the exit. Armed with nothing but a stick, he fights back, stabbing it with everything he's got. The group barely escapes and rushes back to the store. Their failure only strengthens Carmody's grip on the frightened survivors. She seizes the moment, spinning it into a divine warning. More people begin flocking to her, desperate for any kind of protection, even the supernatural kind. Prayer circles form, welcoming new believers as her influence grows. Meanwhile, David can't shake the last words of a dying soldier they found in the pharmacy. "I'm sorry." That single phrase gnaws at him, leading him to suspect the military is tied to this nightmare. Back at the store, they search for the 3 soldiers who had been hiding among them. 2 are found dead by suicide, guilt seemingly pushing them over the edge. The third, Jessup, doesn't last much longer under pressure. He finally cracks and reveals the ugly truth. A government experiment at the local military base had been tampering with dimensions. And somewhere along the way, they opened a door they were never meant to. With the truth out in the open, Mrs. Carmody's cult takes justice, or rather judgment, into their own hands. In a blind frenzy, they stab Jessup and cast him out of the store. He barely has time to react before a monstrous, mantis-like creature swoops in, making a quick meal of him. Watching the horror unfold, Billy turns to his father with one simple request: never let the monsters take him. The next morning, David and his small group, Amanda, Billy, Ollie, Bud, Irene Repler, and Dan Miller, decide it's time to leave. The supermarket is no longer a refuge. It's a church of hysteria, and Mrs. Carmody is its high priestess. Moving carefully, they head for the front doors, only to find her waiting. She demands another sacrifice, declaring that Billy must be next. David prepares to fight, but Ollie doesn't wait. He shoots her down before she can stir her followers into a deadly frenzy. Her devoted congregation stands frozen in shock, giving David's group the chance to escape. Not all of them make it. Ollie and 2 others are snatched away by the mist horrors, Their escape cuts short in brutal fashion. Bud, seeing the slaughter, turns back and seals himself inside the store. The rest, David, Billy, Amanda, Dan, and Irene, reach the car just in time. Before they can drive off, David spots Amanda's pistol on the car hood. Reaching for it, he narrowly dodges a creature lunging at him, but he gets the gun. And at this point, any weapon is better than none. David drives through the mist, heading straight for his home. When he arrives, the nightmare is confirmed. His wife, Stephanie, is dead, suspended in thick webs. With no reason to stay, he turns the car around and pushes forward, leaving the town behind. The road is littered with abandoned vehicles, their former owners nowhere to be seen. As they continue, an enormous six-legged behemoth lumbers past, a grim reminder that the horrors in the mist aren't just nightmares, they're real. Hours pass, and so does their fuel. The car sputters to a stop, leaving them stranded with nowhere to run. Then come the sounds. Unnatural. Close. There's no escaping what's out there. David pulls out Amanda's pistol, silently counting the bullets. 4 shots. 5 people. The math doesn't work. Someone has to stay behind. He makes the choice. Billy stirs just in time to see the gun pointed at him. A single shot, his last wish, to never be taken by the monsters, granted in the worst way possible. The remaining 3 don't get a chance to react before the next shots ring out. When the gun clicks empty, David stumbles out, waiting for the mist to take him. But the monsters never come. Instead, the mist begins to clear, revealing a convoy of U.S. Army vehicles rolling in, burning away the creatures and reclaiming the town. On one of the trucks, David sees the very people he left behind, including the woman who had walked out into the mist to find her children. In that moment, it hits him. The rescue had been moments away. He had done it all for nothing. His screams echo through the clearing mist, but nothing can undo what's already been done. Sometimes the worst horrors aren't the monsters lurking in the dark. It's the choices we make when we think all hope is lost. Speaking of choices, in Wish Upon, we saw how one seemingly harmless wish spiraled into a nightmare no one expected. But compared to this, maybe Joey King's character got off easy, or did she? Click here to find out.